Tenknum, Chapter 1. World Peace. A world united under one banner. This was once deemed impossible. Billions scoffed as leaders threatened each other like middle schoolers. Most at the time thought the world would end as it began, in a big bang. A nuclear bang, but still a bang. However, in the darkest hours, the light shines the brightest. A woman by the name of Sabrina Galler emerged onto the political scene. She was indescribable. She single-handedly convinced the miscellaneous nations to put down their weapons and have a civilized discussion. This brought about the famous Galler Conference. The leaders gathered with the intention of holding a discussion, but no discussion was held. Sabrina took the reins and spent days speaking about her plans for world peace. It was mind-blowing. Not a single person could see a flaw in her plan nor disagree with it. The plan was fair, just, and overall brilliant. The world followed the plan with Sabrina Galler at the head. In the year 2042, the world was united. In the following 100 years, the world prospered and grew. The economy boomed and technology soared. However, no one could see the impending doom that was slowly approaching. Humanity's downfall was destined to fall by its own hand. With no war, there was no mass killings. Crime decreased to a minimum due to everyone prospering. There was not a reason to commit a crime when everything you ever wished for was in your possession. The world was perfect. This led to population soaring. Deer, if left unhunted, overpopulate, and there is a food shortage. The deer then die of starvation. Humanity is no different. In the year 2053, food shortages were widespread across the globe, and many lived in poverty and struggled to feed themselves. I was born in 2171. I missed the golden years. My parents were stupid yet intelligent. They were stupid for bringing me into this world, but they were intelligent because they threw me onto the streets the day I hit my first birthday. This was when I couldn't handle only being breastfed. I can't really blame the idiots, but that didn't mean I want to be abandoned. Somehow I survived till now. That in itself is a miracle. If I performed 2 more miracles, I could be considered a saint. Maybe then I could get a decent meal. The thought made my stomach grumble as I woke my way through the alleys of the city of Galler. Galler was the capital of the world. It contained the United World Government and all of their related infrastructure, none of which I cared about. Galler was named after Sabrina Galler. Big shocker there. Honestly, I hated Sabrina Galler and everything to do with her. She brought about world peace. Big whoop. I would rather die to a nuke than hunger. Hunger lasts longer and hurts more. Finally, I reached my destination. I called it home, but in reality it was a library. Libraries have been dead and abandoned for many years. Who wants to walk somewhere to get a book when you can download it on any electronic device and have some celebrity read it to you? I loved the library and I had it all to myself. Provided shelter, entertainment, taught me everything I know. Not only that, but no one ever tried to enter the library. Only a fool would search for food in the library, especially one that had been boarded up for dozens of years. I had returned from searching for food myself. Sadly, none was found. It was going to be another hungry night. The building was boarded up and I had to climb up a brick wall to a smashed window to get in. I was 14 years old this year, and I woke every day surprised I didn't die in my sleep to any number of things. For a starving, malnourished teenager, I had a pretty sweet spot in the library. I had a few blankets to keep me warm in the winter. They were moth-bitten and smeared in dirt, but they were still pretty cozy. Much better than participating in a sleeping pile. A sleeping pile was a large group of people who didn't have a shelter and would all sleep together in a giant pile to stay warm. This ranged from a few people to several dozen, depending on the weather. Sleeping piles were dangerous. Someone as small as me could easily be crushed if I was near the bottom, but if I was too close to the top, I would probably freeze to death. You also couldn't have anything of value on you if you participated in a sleeping pile. Someone bigger than you would strangle you for a slice of bread or a small blanket. It was difficult to walk the balance between having enough to survive and having so little that none would kill for it. That's another reason I valued the library so much. I could hide things of small value in it. I had a small computer. The computer was extremely old. It was powered by solar panels. All computers have long been upgraded to a small atom reactor. An atom reactor was a breakthrough in technology about 50 years ago. It pulled an atom from the air and split it using the Reagan method, which made splitting an atom extremely safe and provided an extraordinary amount of energy. The science behind it was incredible. I read several books on it. I would love to be able to work on atom reactors one day. Atom reactors were a worthwhile invention in comparison to the invention of world peace. But I digress. The computer was connected to the internet. Internet was everywhere since the invention of the global internet towers, which provided worldwide fast internet. Due to the computer's age, it managed to be able to connect to the global internet towers, but it was old enough that the global internet tower software did not pick up on the computer using it. To explain, the global internet tower used to charge based on subscriptions. Every month, the household would get billed for the subscription. Now the global internet tower picks up on the computer chip located in the computers and bills it through that method. It was an easier way to bill the computer directly. All computers were made to include this chip after the method was introduced. My computer happened to be made in the perfect gap to avoid having the chip installed. This way I managed to dodge the computer's internet being shut down due to bills. I guess the internet companies didn't think that some starving kid would be using a computer that could be considered a fossil. Using the internet, I managed to glean information about the world that people in my position didn't have. I tried to find a job online several times, but who wants to hire a 14-year-old starving kid with no credentials? There seemed to be no way out of my never-ending cycle of starvation. No one had a good solution to get off the streets. The only way was some miracle out of a fairy tale emerging and saving us, or the charity of some rich person who was looking to improve their public image. Both had the same chance as a pelican swallowing a chainsaw and surviving. I could constantly drone on about my chances being slim, but the largest chance I had for survival had recently emerged. It was called Tenkum. Tenknum was a fully submersive reality game. The first fully submersive reality game, to be exact. When world peace came about, video games went to the wayside due to everyone loving reality. Now that reality has gone to shit, video games are popular again. Video games were an escape, especially when it came to virtual reality. That is why Tenknum has so much excitement around it. Tenknum was developed by Virtual Haven Industries. The CEO was Frederick W. Bolton, who is currently one of the richest men in the world. The man held the entertainment and media industry in an iron fist and wielded it so whoever opposed him would never be able to be seen in a good light again. Several politicians have tried to expose his monopoly and corruption. Bolton would twist the media and framed those individuals for crimes or expose personal information to destroy their credibility and careers. I chanced upon proclamations on several occasions about Bolton's corruption before Bolton's companies took it down. Tenknum was a fantasy-based reality game that allowed the user to submerge himself into the world of Monetic. Other than the small piece of information, little else was known about the game. The reason for the large amount of enthusiasm for the game was not due to it being a fully immersive fantasy game. After all, who wants to
play or buy a game that they knew nothing about. The excitement was over the prize pool for winning the game. The prize pool was $8.5 billion. The prize pool probably didn't even put a dent in Virtual Haven Industries' budget. The game also released, there was limited spots for the game, and that every single person that got a slot would be placed in a full immersion capsule at one of the Virtual Haven Industries locations. Once in the capsule, you would be unable to leave until the game was finished or your character died. Once your character died, you would be unable to continue participating. The lead designer of Tenknum stated that the game should take a few years to finish. However, inside the game, time would be distorted to feel like dozens of years. What this spelled for the game, no one knew. Virtual Haven Industries claimed that it would have no side effects. Continuing the explanation of the full immersion capsule, which Virtual Haven Industries released plenty of information on it to make it as appealing as possible, was how you received food and water. When you ate or drank in game, the capsule would inject the nutrients into your body. The same with exercise. The capsule would stimulate your muscles in your body. In theory, a person who entered the game could come out more healthy than when they entered. Virtual Haven Industries also reassured that the capsule could in no way hurt you. I understand the safety concerns, but I believe that they are overstressing the safety of the capsule. I opened my laptop and began surfing the news. I planned to attempt to enter the tournament. To be a participant, you were required to be under 25 years of age. You could enter one of the several million slots in two ways. The first way was to register and pay an entry fee to Virtual Haven Industries. That was out of the question. This method made up 80% of the entries. Then, depending on how many slots were left in each facility of Virtual Haven Industries, a selector would go outside and select people they deemed worthy. It seemed silly, but that was my ticket in. I had to somehow convince a selector to choose under 5 foot, dirty, skinny me. Those who did not get selected could watch a live broadcast of anyone they wished at any time. Lost in the thought of how to pull this off, I continued scrolling through the news. I clicked on the politics tab, and at the top was a headline that caught my attention. World government passes new law to combat overpopulation. This was interesting. So far, the government was attempting to ignore the overpopulation since they enacted the birthing laws. The birthing laws basically restricted one couple to have one child only. Besides birth restrictions, how do you solve overpopulation? There's no humane way to do it. Even birthing laws received major backlash from those in wealth. Why should they have to stop having children when all their children are well fed? This was inhumane. Let the lower classes slowly fade to nothing by restricting their births. Of course, most of the lower classes were starving and would simply throw their children to the streets instead of registering them as a citizen. So the law didn't work. The law very quickly became neglected and never enforced. It was simply there to say the government was attempting to control population. I thought of the topic of overpopulation a bit too much throughout my life and found no humane solution. This was the reason why the news article intrigued me. I clicked on it and it slowly loaded. When it loaded, I began to read. The more I read, the more confused I became. The law stated to combat overpopulation, it was now legal to literally sign your life away. For example, if two people were signing a contract, they could write if one end of the contract was not upheld, the one who failed to uphold the contract would be killed. I could hardly see anyone signing their life away in a contract. Technically, this would lower population, but the result would be so minuscule to the point of being unrecognizable. No sane businessman would make their customers sign their life away. If they killed one of their customers, no one would do business with them. The strangest thing was a quote from Frederick W. Bolton stating that the law was a step forward toward a new future. Was the government planning something or full of idiots? I shook my head and turned off the computer before climbing in my blankets to sleep. Tomorrow I had to attempt to enter the competition. It was a long shot, but better than sitting around and starving to death. I closed my eyes, my head still swirling with unruly thoughts.